My first time seeing stand-up was hell. My friend Brian always raved about stand-up comedy, but I never really understood the big deal. I'd seen comics perform on TV, and though some bits were funny, some were groan-worthy, and some I heard were blatantly ripped off others. As my birthday arrived, I found a gift ticket in my mailbox from Brian for the opening night of a new comedy club. The shit I get from Brian when he came back from his trip would be worse than going, so I sucked up my reluctancy and walked through those tall glass doors on the day of the show. I entered the dim red lobby of the comedy club, presented my ticket to the usher, and took my seat 3 rows from the stage. I began twiddling my fingers nervously as I felt far from comfortable. A sexy waitress pushing 20 wearing a tight dress gave me a menu, and I was instantly put off by the expensive drinks, but ordered a whiskey ginger nonetheless. Soon after I polished it off, the first comedian took the stage, and I found myself cracking up almost instantly. I hated to admit it, but Brian was right. I was having a blast. The jokes got far dirtier than I typically felt comfortable with, but it was freeing somehow, and I was red-faced and gasping for air by the time I was finished from laughing so hard. I applauded genuinely as he bid adieu, then another comedian took the stage, welcomed in by a scattered applause. Almost immediately it stopped being funny. I'd seen YouTube clips of hecklers being owned by comedians and vice versa. I saw drinks spilled, insults tossed. I even watched Kramer blow his cool and career in one outburst. One thing I had also seen, and one of the main reasons I avoided live comedy acts, was the targeting of individuals in the audience. I am not just shy. That word is so cute, it is a slap in the face to me. I am crippling terrified of being on the spot. That's why I code Java for a living. That's why I work from home. That's why I've been single my whole life. And that's exactly why what happened to me last night was the worst event in all possible worlds. The tall, slender, stand-up comic next to Bat looked like a young Stephen Buscemi, but bald and with the larger jaw. I don't know my comedians like I should, so I have no idea if he's famous or not. They did announce him, which I found a little odd, but I assumed he'd tell us his name later. I was actually eager to look up these guys after the brilliantly entertaining first act, as he wandered into the spotlight. However, I abandoned that thought as my fight or flight response screamed, "Run!" when he smirked and locked eyes with mine. My heart pounded as he spoke into the mic in a gritty, condescending voice. The World of Warcraft servers must have finally shut down to see this thing outside the house. My throat closed up in a toxic reaction as his pale blue eyes pierced mine. I felt my cheeks getting hot and the trickles of sweat fall down my face as the audience roared in laughter. My eyes welled up, but I had a feeling that reacting would only fuel his behavior. So I dug my fingernails into the armrest and tried to fake a smile. Knowing I looked absolutely mortified, he only continued, This guy right here, this guy fucks," the slender comedian said, rolling up his sleeves and loosening his tie. He took a few long strides across the stage to address the audience, almost giving me a faint hope he'd move on to another target. He didn't. This guy got so many anime girl pillows with holes in them, he must have a litter of Beanie Babies scampering around his shithole apartment. I watched jaw slack in horror as he pantomimed an animal running about. "I'm just kidding around, Danny, you fat fuck," I gasped uncontrollably. "How did you know my name?" This comic continued his tirade. "Danny the dweeb Pembleton, living in a small studio on 7050 Church Road, buzzer number 2. This guy also fucking eats. I see so many delivery guys run through there, I think there's a damn queue. Do they just go back to the restaurant to reload?" The audience just burst with laughter, and my heart hurt from pounding in my sweaty chest. How did he know where I lived? Was he a delivery guy on the side? Why and how could he do this to me? My face was soaked with sweat and steadily trickling tears. I felt like I was going to pass out as he continued torturing me in front of the filled audience. "Danny Pembleton, social security number 169241119, Dandrew Pembleton 102B at gmail.com, Danny with the password Linda Coney Carly 8004, Tony with the 0 as the O since he had 0% chance. His pathetic password is his 3 crushes, his birth year, and the year his cancer-filled, shriveled hag of a mom passed away. Fucking hilarious, Danny. The comic shouted with bulging, burning eyes that forced anguish into mine, and the audience went wild. I felt my heart stumble in arrhythmia as I stood up and tried to make my way to the aisle, but his grating voice shouted in response, dripping with evil, "Oh, Danny, that is rude. You really want to make me involve Deborah and her autistic mistake? Stupid Sammy." The man on the stage threatened before wheezing a hissing laugh. My sister and nephew were mentioned by name, and my face felt hot and my vision blurred. I sobbed and collapsed into the seat, pleading for him to stop and let me be, and it only fed the flames in his eyes. He laughed and pointed a finger my way before removing an old film camera to snap multiple flash photos of me. Each sharp white flash racked my body with pain as I sat there completely devastated. Finally, I rose back up to my feet and stumbled down the aisle past thrown drinks and hurled insults and boos as the comic threw one final joke my way. "Oh, Danny boy, they're already dead, you fucking idiot. Where are you going, you stupid fuck? I was hoping your IQ might be higher than your belt size, but as you all say in Weight Watchers, bad chance." And the roaring laughter from white teeth and lipstick smiles boomed as I spilled through the lavish red-carpeted entrance. I stumbled out into the wet, rainy streets. I fell into the sidewalk with a slap, clenching my aching heart, and the yellow streetlights strobed slowly and fuzzy as I vaguely remember the flashing red and blue lights when an ambulance eventually arrived. I woke in the hospital. The doctor came in after the nurses saw my confused eyes open. He explained I'd suffered a heart attack, and I was lucky to be alive. I panicked asking about my sister Debbie, and the nurse left the room briefly. Debbie walked in with Sam and my father, and I melted in tears. I wept as they held my hand, beyond relief they were all right. After my request, 2 police officers came to speak with me, but after checking thoroughly, they explained the comedy club did not exist. There was no trace of it online or elsewhere. I began feeling like I lost my mind, realizing the terrifying ordeal might have been some horrible hallucination from the lack of oxygen to my brain. I was almost okay with that conclusion until I tried to contact Brian, my friend who'd mailed me those tickets, only to get a full message box on his phone. I eventually called his brother and other mutual friends, and I listened to the story again and again, unable to comprehend it. Brian had died a week before being found. Before my admission to the hospital, he'd suffered from a major heart attack inside of an abandoned building alone. They said his body had to be identified from his dental records, and they alluded to a shocking amount of rodents present. Before I asked them to move on, they continued to the curious part. His last text message was to his brother overseas, thanking him for his own gift of a ticket to a comedy show the evening he disappeared. The ticket his brother swears he never sent.